What were your thoughts as the UWF and NWA merger went down?
Well, that was tough. We had worked so hard and toiled and fought off the WWF and fought off, the NWA and really felt like we had a product that was marketable and the people were responding to what we were doing. It was just, we were doing so well. We didn't know about the money trouble. A lot of, Watts knew, and he was the one who was, sweating the bullets.
Right.
We didn't know. And then all of a sudden, it's like this thing I'm going through now with WCW being sold. You have a feeling something's going on. There was no internet back then. There was just, telephone, telegraph, telewrestler. And, we found out the merger went through. Well, there's one thing you can do. We either decide to make the best of it, or you just give up. We went in with our eyes open, thinking that, either we're going to get a fair shot or we're going to get murdered to make their stars look better. And I think history kind of bears out what did happen.
Now, what are your thoughts on the fact that they only unified your belt and not any other belt? And do you also feel that they missed a boat by doing a interpromotional feud with NWA versus UWF guys? Or do you think that they didn't do it because, it's like a three-part question, or do you think they didn't do it because they didn't want to put UWF talent over to NWA talent to make their guys look weaker?
Dusty Rhodes and I have had conflicts, and it was probably my fault because I was disrespectful because I hadn't earned a spot in this business before I started being kidding and friendly and stuff like that. And Bill Watts, whether he worked us to death and paid us less than he should have or whatever, taught me responsibility, honor, to be a man, to represent your employer the right way, your family. And Dusty, who I love now, and I probably would apologize. Apologizing doesn't help, but I think they missed the boat, whether it was personal and it may not have been. It's very easy. Our whole business is full of guys that spin these conspiracy theories. They're doing it to screw with us. No, they're not. They're trying to keep their business going. The Japanese did the interpromotional feud, and it worked. And then, Eric heard about it and did the NWO WCW thing. So would it have worked back then? Maybe. Did we get a chance? No. And I don't think Dusty picked on me. I think that, I could have had a run with Nikita, but that's not what the office wanted. And my job as a performer was to give the office the best performance under the guidelines that they hired me to do.
Right. What was Nikita like to work with?
Great. I was told by one of my best friends, and this was the mentality back then, and I've apologized to Nikita since, because right now Nikita's wife and my wife are going to an exclusive getaway in Atlanta that I'm paying for. But, Nikita, I was told by one of my dear friends before I went out to work with Nikita that somebody said to me, Nikita has been instructed by Dusty to take your head off. Now, if you watch the way I worked that match, I was very defensive. I didn't do a whole lot, and I never took my eyes off him.
Which match was this?
This was in Chicago. Okay. And we went like 24 or 5 minutes. And I could have given him a much better match if I'd have trusted him, but I was told not to. And the guy who told me that was wrong. Nikita was a professional. He never did anything to me. Actually, I whacked Nikita. You'll see it if you ever watch it. I lit him up one time to see what he was going to do, because I wasn't going to wait for it. And he was a professional, and I'm embarrassed that I did it. But I was told by somebody I trusted, a dear friend of mine, he's a friend to this day, that Nikita was going to take my head off because Dusty told him to. And I'm embarrassed that I bought into that. And Nikita didn't. He was a true professional, and he's a wonderful guy. He was a great guy then.
Sorry. That's okay. We pause it.
Super crazy.
No, actually,
we're talking about Starrcade match with Nikita and the sale of UWF.
Just to recap, we didn't know that the company was being sold. And I think the last thing I said was, the interpromotional deal has worked, as evidenced by the NWO and WCW, and then the Japanese people did it too. So, no second guessing, and I don't feel Dusty singled me out. And I would have had a better match with Nikita if I wouldn't have thought I would have been on the defensive by somebody.
Now, what are your memories on the Freebirds and your matches with them as well? You had some great ones.
They were great. perfect chemistry. I told you how I feel about Terry Gordy. Incredible performer. Buddy Roberts was as efficient as he could have been for a guy who was little and, and let's be honest, I mean, he drank a lot and didn't take good care of himself, but he knew what to do exactly when and made me look good, a lot better than I ever could, doing very little. And then Michael was the mouthpiece, and Michael was like this herky-jerky, just, he wasn't a smooth worker, but he was so intense that when he did something, they believed it. And when we did those whipping matches,
I was going to ask you about that.
God.
What are your memories on those matches?
I hated every second of it. Michael Hayes, you think you go to a town, if it's not sold out, you bend that little strap in half, and you just swing it a little less than wide open. Not Michael. I always got it first. The nature of what we do is you get the good guy down so he has has to overcome. And I mean, Michael used to, and I'd be cussing. Me cussing him was much louder than the crack of the whip. I could tell you, son of a boom, you son, I hate your boom. Get the boom. He was killing me. But the one thing I can say is when it was his turn, Michael took it as much as he gave it.
Right.
Never ran away, never went, he took it.
What are your memories of the barbed wire match with the Fantastics and you against Sheepherders and Jack Victory? Legendary.
Was it?
People still talk about it today.
I've watched it and you get in there and you get going, and it's all the politics, the car wrecks, the 9 knee surgeries, the broken ankles, the herniated discs, the chipped teeth, the days away from your family. It's times like that barbed wire match when you're in there and you're doing everything and it's clicking and the people are with it and you're entertaining them and giving them more than they paid to see, and the energy and the chemistry is there. I mean, there's no better feeling. And a lot of guys don't understand what an honor and a privilege it is because the road is so long. Sooner or later it's going to end. Whether you're, Hulk Hogan or Kevin Nash or Goldberg, or Austin. He appreciates it.
Right.
I can tell you right now, Steve Austin didn't work to come back to make more money. He did it because he loves what he does, and he got out in front of those people, and he can still do it. He still entertains them, and he works as hard as anybody, knowing that any bump could break his neck. How do you not love a guy like that? God, rally your troops around a guy like that.
It's crazy. Actually,
man.
Now, what were your early impressions of the business when you first got involved with it?
Loved it. I'm still a big fan. And sometimes it's like if you're a fan of somebody or something, your perception or your buildup of what that is so high and so great that when you finally meet it or see how it really is, it's a letdown. I still love the business in its purest form.
Right.
When the product is in the ring and the people are reacting to it, and there's no better feeling whether you're watching it, being part of the creative deal, or being actually in the ring.
Now, was Florida the first territory that you worked for?
Yes, it was.
What was Eddie Graham like as booker?
I only saw Eddie a couple times. The main people I dealt with were Jerry Briscoe, who, funny enough, I worked with last year when I was in the WWF. And he was very nice back then, and he's really nice now. He liked me, and then a couple times Eddie Graham, during his lunch break, would take his shoes off, and he was very much into showing people how to sell things. Like one time he says, I guess he saw me on TV, guy was choking me, and I was waving on both sides going, and he says, is that how you sell a choke, son? I said, yeah. And he went, and I went, and he goes, that's how you sell a choke.
Sounds like Bill Watts.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.